Okay, welcome back to the channel. So we've discussed maximum point blank range, line of sight versus trajectory, our sight pictures, and our offset. So we have to allow for that offset. Now, when you're setting your carbine up, and if you have a collapsible or adjustable stock, the easiest way to do it is put your buttstock in your crook of your elbow, and can your finger reach the trigger? Now, if you'll notice, mine is, well, I've got this much gap. That's okay. I can shoot a shorter stock a lot easier than I can shoot a long stock. The reason I do it this way is two reasons. One, I may not be the only one shooting this carbine. Melinda may be getting it, Virginia may be getting it, my father-in-law may be getting it. We all have different lengths of pull. So if I've got it set for my length of pull, that would be ideal. It may be too long for them. The second reason is if I have a stuck case, what I would do is actually mortar the weapon. So I would, and I'm not going to do it because one, I don't have a stuck case and I don't want to beat the snot out of this chair. But I would hook my charging handle and slam it down onto a hard surface at the same time pulling my charging handle down. The idea is that'll rip that stuck case out. If my buttstock is not collapsed and it's a collapsible buttstock, I can shear the pin, and I don't want to do that. So I would want to collapse my buttstock before I did that. Well, if my buttstock's already collapsed, that's not an issue. So that's the reason I run it short. Now your sling. If you run a 2-point sling, which I recommend, what you want to do is you want your sling to set where your buttstock is even with your collarbone, okay? That way when you come up, you're not having to fish it. It's right there. And it comes up to the same place every time. Now, if you notice, I've got my plate carrier on. The reason I do this is I run my plate carrier slick. I won't normally wear a plate carrier, but if it's a vehicle, mission drives a year. So if we're going to be in a vehicle or something like that, or it's more of a defensive, where there's not a lot of movement, yeah, I'll run a plate carrier. Or if it's more of an urban thing, I'll run a plate carrier. But if it's more of a rural patrol, I may not run a plate carrier because I want to keep my weight down. So what I'll do is I'll run my plate carrier slick, and I'll wear a chest rig over the top of it. So my chest rig's set up the same way every time. So if I've got my plate carrier on, I can run my chest rig over it. If I'm not wearing my plate carrier, I can just run my chest rig. You're saying, well, what does this mean with what you're doing now? You're running your plate carrier slick, you don't have your chest rig on. When you get ready, you'll find a pocket here to put your buttstock in. The easiest way to do that is hold your carbine like this, put it in your shoulder, and roll it down. And when you roll it down, it's going to be in the pocket of your shoulder. If you have to adjust a little bit because you have your plate carrier on, I want consistency. Remember, consistency equals accuracy. So I want to put it in the same place each time. So I'm going to learn how to shoot it with my plate carrier on. If I don't have my plate carrier, it still goes in the same place. There's no issues. Does that make sense? Okay. So now we're going to start talking about positions. So our first position is going to be offhand. Offhand is really no different than offhand with a pistol. You're going to be, your feet, and I'm going to leave the sling off right now. Your feet will be shoulder width apart. Your left foot will be slightly ahead of your right. Knees bent, nose over toes. So you're pivoting at the hips like you were going to do a kettlebell swing. And you push your weight forward. It's an athletic stance, okay? We're going to keep our elbows in tight. We're not going to chicken wing. We're going to keep our elbows in tight. We're going to come up. We're going to put our face at the same place each time. Now, I have my sights are co-wigs. So in other words, my front sight, my rear sight, and my red dot all are all in line. So I've got my right hand high, just like I would on a pistol. gripping with my fingers straight. This hand just gripping wherever it's comfortable. And I'm kind of leaning into it. And this way I can go any direction, pivoting at the hips. If I need to move, I'm able to move, okay? So that's offhand. Now, we're gonna do a deliberate offhand now. The deliberate offhand is more of, well, it's deliberate. You know, that's why it's called that. It is different from the offhand. You're not gonna have your athletic stance. And you'll say, well, why am I gonna do this? Well, you may have to take a further shot. You can't get more stable. You're gonna have to take the shot offhand, but it needs to be more accurate. So what we're gonna do in this case, we're gonna face 90 degrees from our target, okay? What we're gonna do is, now this time we are gonna chicken wing. We're gonna put it in our pocket. This hand is gonna come under like this. And what I do, Virginia, I'm gonna pivot the muzzle up so you can come around. I put the magazine on the outside of my forearm. Now that's not legal for service rifle, but it gives us more stability. So if you can come around. Okay, I see how I have my magazine resting on my forearm. I'm actually leaning back. I'm rolling in, and I can get my sights, and I can make the shot. Now this is a little more awkward, but I can shoot accurately to 200 meters, no issues at all. Now we're going to discuss natural point of aim versus muscling. If you, when I worked at Sawmill and Hankins Lumber Company, we had those, all the things you squeeze with your hands to make your grip stronger. And we played a game with them where we would put a penny in there and you see who could hold it the longest. Your voluntary muscles have to, your brain has to tell them to contract. Well, as quick as your mind goes to something else, they'll loosen and a penny will fall out. So if I'm firing and I'm going to deliver it offhand, what I want is I want bone support, not muscle, for two reasons. One, I can shoot longer, more accurately with bone support. Second reason is I get faster follow-up shots. Now this is actually very awkward with a plate carrier. But what would happen is I'm going to look to my sights, I'm going to close my eyes, I'm going to take 2 or 3 deep breaths and open my eyes. If my sights are not on the target, I'm not going to muscle it. I'm not just going to push it over, up, down, left, right, because that does not give me bone support. What I'm going to do is if I need to go right, I'm going to take my back foot, and it doesn't take much, and I'm just going to scoot it back to the left. That's going to bring my muzzle around where I can relax and get a good, accurate shot. Now you're going to say, well, dadgum, that's going to take forever. It does to start with, but pretty soon you learn what position your natural point of aim is and how to get into it. And it comes, no pun intended, it becomes very natural. So you don't have to do a lot of adjustment. Now you will to start with, but over time, when you do that, you'll almost immediately be in position because you'll know how it feels. Okay, now our second position is going to be kneeling. Now, the advantages of standing is visibility. I can see. I can see more than if I'm down, but it's less stable, and I'm also a bigger target. So if I can get lower and more stable and still see my target, that's what I want to do. So our next position going down is going to be kneeling. Now, in kneeling, again, using bone support instead of muscle. The back of your arm right here, just above your elbow, has got a flat spot. God put it there for rifling. So what I'm going to do is, you can either take a step forward with your offside foot or take a step back. But what you're going to do is, you're going to go to one knee. You're going to take this flat spot. You're not going to put your elbow on top of your kneecap. You see how it's rolling? That's not stable. But if I take this flat spot and I go forward just a little bit, Then I've got a flat, stable surface for my elbow to rest on. This is more stable, I can shoot more accurately, but I do not have the mobility I have standing. I am a smaller target, and I have almost the same visual ability. So this is your kneeling. Now, if you're a natural point of aim, it's the exact same thing. If you need to move left or right, you're just gonna move your back foot. It doesn't take much at all. If you need up and down, you can adjust with your elbow, or the flat part of your arm going up and down on your knee. Okay? So that's offhand, deliberate offhand, kneeling. What's our time?
10, well, 11.
Okay. Now, our next position, and this is aggravating with the plate carrier, it's called rice paddy prone. This is a squat. This is almost as accurate as prone, but you may not be able to get in the prone position and still see your target, or you may not want to be in a prone position, maybe broken glass, whatever, and you don't want to lay in it. So what you're going to do is very similar to sitting, but you're going to squat. And I don't mean to be indelicate, but if you're having to take a dump in the woods, it's the same principle. You're going to put your elbows inside your knees, and this is your rice paddy prone. It's a very stable, it's easy to get into and out of. I come up, I go down, and of course my weight going forward. So we're going to stop right there, and then we're going to go to prone, urban prone, and supine.